Hey everybody, and welcome back to Code Interpret. So, question number 7. The board of Team Neptune decided to take over control of one e-commerce web server from Team Saturn. The administrator who once set up this web server is not part of the organization any longer. All information you could get was that the e-commerce system is called My Happy Shop. Search for the correct pod in namespace Saturn and move it to the namespace Neptune. It doesn't matter if you shut it down and spin it up again, it probably hasn't any customers anyways. Okay, so it wants us to search for a resource that has this name, My Happy Shop, but and then it's also told us that it's a pod and it belongs to this namespace. But the thing is that what if it has like more than 20 or 50 pods running in this namespace, and the name, it just says My Happy Shop is just called My Happy Shop. So what if My Happy Shop could also be the name of um, the container? It could also be the name of the volume. It could also be a pod that has a label called My Happy Shop. So so the question is trying to evaluate and check how, whether we can filter out the keywords My Happy Shop from a list of pods. Okay. Now we're going to reconstruct this question because we're going to be working on our local system. So let's start by creating 3 pods. Okay. Okay, let's create the namespace first. Create namespace um, called Saturn. Create namespace Saturn, and then we create another namespace called Neptune. Okay, now let's create 3 pods. Okay, I'm gonna call the first one red, and we're gonna use the image nginx alpine, and let's export it into a YAML file called red YAML. Okay, and then we're going to create another one called green with another image. Create a third pod called purple with a busybox image, and we output the YAML file into purple.yaml. Okay, now the thing is that the busybox images are not going to run. Okay, it's just going to create the pod run, and then the pod is going to get terminated. So we need to do some configuration just to make sure that the pod keeps running. And to do that, we're going to add a sleep command to both of them. We're going to use a shell and the flag C, and then sleep. Then we're going to do the same thing with with purple. Press I to edit the file. Okay, now let's create all of the pods. Okay. Oh, and let's add. Let's change the name of the container to My Happy Shop. Okay. So we create this, and then we create the last one, purple. Okay, now all the pods are created. Let's just check. Okay, now coming back to the question. The question wants us to search for a pod, and okay, so we need to make sure we need to search for all of these pods that are placed in the namespace Saturn, and then pull this one out and then transfer it to Neptune. Okay, but the thing that we did here was that we didn't mention in either of the YAML files the namespace, right? So we need to add the namespace. Okay, so the best part about reconstructing the question is that you get to learn a lot of things, right? Like to configure a pod, to create a pod, and the namespace. Okay, purple.yaml, Saturn. Okay, now we're gonna have to delete all the pods. Okay, now we're gonna have to delete all the pods. Red, delete the pod. Green, you can add grace period just to save time. Okay, just in case if it gets stuck while deleting. Okay, now this is done. Now we are gonna recreate all. Okay, green.yaml, comma, purple.yaml. Okay, so if we do kubectl get pods, it's not gonna show any pods. But when we do kubectl get pods in the namespace Saturn, and there you go. Okay, now the question wants us to search for a pod that has my happy shop written somewhere in it. Okay, so just use the API request get pods. So if I do get pods and let's say we put in the name of the pod and then output the YAML, it's gonna give us, and the namespace should be Saturn. It's gonna give us the YAML of just the green pod, okay? And all right, now we need to learn how to filter out content, okay? So, but then what the difference between not placing the name of the YAML or the name of the pod would give you the YAML of all the pods in that specific namespace, okay? When you do this, it's gonna give you the YAML of all the 3 pods, okay? And since it's gonna be a long output, we're gonna, this is the place where we use the GREP tool. I'm gonna, what do you call, just to make sure that you guys can see it, kubectl get pods in the namespace Saturn, and we need the output in YAML. Now this would give us the YAML of all the pods, and we need to use the tool called grep, okay? Use -i flag, okay, just in case if any of the letters is, what do you call, capital, all right? My happy shop. Okay, now we know that one of the pods has a name called My Happy Shop, okay? Now, but we don't know what that is, right? Like whether it's a name of a volume or is it a name of the container, we're not sure. Because we know it because we reconstructed the question, but in the real exam, you won't know who constructed the question and whether it's the name of the volume or the name of the container. So in that case, you use the same command and add another flag that says the A flag is for after, okay, to print 5 lines after that. And if you use B, would give you, let's say, 3 lines before uh, the place where the place where grep found my happy shop. Okay, so you need to be familiar with Linux commands. Okay, so now we know that this is the name of the container. Okay, and how do we find out the name of the pod, right? Because we're looking for a pod. So we can increase the before by 10 because the name of the pod is going to be in the metadata section, right? So let's make this 15. Okay, so here we have the namespace and the name is green. So it's the green pod, okay, that has a container called my happy shop. All right, so it wants us to output the YAML of that particular pod, and then into a file we need to transfer it and create a file of the green pod, and then recreate it inside the Neptune namespace. Okay, so let's do this. Now we know the name of the pod, so get pod green, and the namespace is Saturn YAML, and let's say we call it green2 because we already have a YAML file called green.yaml. Okay, now we're gonna edit this file. Okay, we're gonna edit, and we need to change the namespace to Neptune, and that's it. Leave everything else. If you want, you can delete the status section. Just press Ctrl V and the down key. You can delete all of this and press D, and then that's it. If you want, you can create this, delete the creation timestamp and the resource version, the UID. Okay, now we're gonna do create F. Let's create F green2.yaml. It has created. Okay, now, but I think we also need to delete the pod green from the Saturn namespace. Okay, let's just use the grace period. Okay, now let's get pods in Saturn. Okay, it's deleted, but when we do get kubectl get pods in the namespace Neptune, it's there and it's running. Okay, that's it. This solves the question. So it really, the answers are really short, but the reconstruction of the question is a long process, right? So I think the solution shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 minutes. All right. So again, reconstructing the question would really help you learn a lot of other things while you're constructing the question and the entire scenario. So let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thank you.